up guys, and welcome back to another video here on this channel. I've been doing some thinking about what I want to do on this channel and what could be interesting for you guys, and I thought, hey, start with my own experience. And today, as you can read from the title of this video, I wanna tell you about the 10 biggest differences I noticed between the USA and Germany. For those of you who don't know, I'm German. I lived in Germany my entire life, but I started going back and forth to the US in 2016 when I got together with my boyfriend. And yeah, ever since I've been traveling back and forth, and obviously lived in the United States for a couple of months at a time. So now I want to present you the biggest differences I noticed, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Number one, I think when the first time I entered Walmart, my mind was blown. Okay, let me put it this way. It is so crazy how huge the stores are. It is insane. I loved it, honestly. Like, the Walmart we always go to has everything. You can almost buy a new car there. I mean, you can buy bikes, tires, fishing equipment. You can buy furniture, you name it and they'll have it and they'll sell it to you. I love Walmart compared to Germany, where supermarkets usually sell food, stuff that you might need for personal hygiene, maybe trash bags and stuff like that, and maybe some pencils and batteries. But that's pretty much what you can buy at the gas station in the US. That's our grocery stores here, with maybe a bigger food section. But yeah, that was the first big difference I noticed, and I love the big stores in the US. I think it's awesome. You can find literally everything. And that brings me actually to number two. Food in the US is expensive, but let me explain here. So there is so much food to get, to eat, to take out, to go through the drive-thru and eat, which is fairly cheap. However, when you go to the grocery store and buy your food, things look a little different. I noticed that, for example, vegetables are, compared to Germany, very expensive, and meat is very cheap. So this is not how it should be. I feel like, for example, for one broccoli floret, I almost paid $4, and I think that's insane. You get it here for 99 cents. That is something that is interesting to me, because, you know, vegetables and fruits are fairly easy to produce. Meat is coming from an animal that has to live in living worthy conditions, so that's why probably most people just go out and buy food, just because it's cheaper, and also, of course, it is more convenient. Number three, huge cars. It's okay, so you think you drive a big car here in Germany, like an SUV. You won't even, like, your car will probably be on the smaller side. In the US, like, you see trucks, you see pickup trucks, you see huge vans, you see SUVs bigger. I think that car companies actually do not produce some cars here in Europe and only in the US, just because the streets are so wide and it's just so much room. You're better off with a big car, because most likely you spend a lot of time in the car, since unless you live in a big city where you can walk, you have to cover distances by car. That brings me to point four, and another car related thing, speed limits. Okay, I think that is one of the more obvious ones, but speed limits are big in the US, especially on the highway. I think it's 75 miles per hour, which is, I think 120 kilometers per hour.
That's cute.
So in Germany, for those of you who don't know, we have this beautiful sign, and when you see that, there is no speed limit on the streets. That means whatever car you're driving, give it full power, because go as fast as you can when conditions allow it, because there is no limit to the speed, which I think is pretty cool. I like that. I love driving cars, so I think that is a really cool thing. And in the US, you rather want to be careful and not get a ticket, which brings me to a thing related to this real quick. It's weird. Here in Germany, when you are, for example, there is a speed limit, let's say on the highway, and you run into a radar trap, they're gonna send you a ticket home where you can just transfer the money and you're good. right? In the US, you have to go to court and do all this stuff. It's so inconvenient. I don't know why they handle it that way. It's just easier if you get the letter in the mail and then pay it. But maybe that's what they want, to make people drive safely. So they know they have to go to court and do all this stuff. So maybe that's an incentive. I don't know. Another thing also related to cars and not a separate point is interesting. So when you come to a cross or intersection and you want to turn right in the US, you're free to turn right. You don't need to wait for the light to turn green. In Germany, you always have to wait for the light to turn green unless it's said differently. But yeah, I love that you can just turn right and you're good. You don't have to wait for the green light because you can watch out, you know what I mean? All right, another big thing that I noticed in the US that must be number 5. I hope I don't confuse the numbers, I'm sure I will. People are more laid back. Maybe that's Florida in particular, I don't know, but I heard it about a lot of places in the US. People are more relaxed, and the human interaction is not as stiff as I know it here from Germany. Maybe it's also because we have a polite way to address people, except in English. I know that in Spanish and French and Italian, there's a polite form to address someone you don't know. But in English, there's just you. So you're quicker on a personal level, and I prefer that. It makes things going easier, less awkward. I prefer just the you instead of having like multiple and having to think, okay, how do I address this person? So I love this about the US. Another thing is, I guess that runs along with that, is I feel in the US, if you have a good idea or you express your ideas to other people, you receive encouragement rather than envy and discouragement. So I feel like in the US, people encourage you to think and have ideas and express them and try to, realize them. Where I feel like in Germany, it's rather people are quickly to envy you for something maybe you reached or done or want to do, have the courage to do. So yeah, that's kind of sad. It's like kind of small-minded. In the US, you have this feeling of you can breathe, and like in Germany, it's like rather you're like stuck. Maybe that's just me, but that's what I experience always when I come back to Germany. Even though I like it here, I grew up here, it's, my home country, but I prefer the open-mindedness. Speaking of, probably a cliche, but the American dream is a real thing. So I feel like going to America and being smart about your ideas and decisions, you can make it. No matter what, you are able to make it if you're persistent and if you just do it. Here, on the other hand side, especially when it comes to founding a business, it is really hard, not only because people tend to be less excited about new ideas, but also because the current situation and how businesses are taxed is very suffocating, especially to new businesses, because they tend to have a lot of expenditure that is not something that you can write off from taxes. So you're gonna drown in financial debt. Another thing, and I think this is number 6, is very interesting to me because in the US, you respect authorities. You respect the police, you respect firemen, you respect authorities. However, in Germany, I feel like the police has reached a level where nobody respects the police, also because the police has not many rights to protect themselves. Speaking really simple, I studied law, so I know, but in the US, the police there has always to expect the worst because people do own weapons such as firearms. They have to be very careful, but in doubt, they are allowed to protect themselves and shoot. However, here in Germany, this would be a huge problem and this policeman would go through a lot of trouble. So I feel like not only do people lack respect, but also policemen have less rights to protect themselves, which contributes to one another. So yeah, in the US, you respect police. Another point, I think it's 7 or 8. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I lost track. I think one thing that my boyfriend and I talked about as well is different than here in Germany. I do always have an escape route in my head when I go into public places because of shootings. So I don't feel unsafe, but I'm more aware in the US For example, in a movie theater, I always check where the emergency exits are. And I'm always, every time I go to the movies, I'm thinking about what if and what will I do. So this is something I have a lot of respect for. I don't have an opinion on whether people shouldn't or should have guns. That's something that is a huge issue that needs to be solved differently. There's no black and white, I believe, but it does make you more aware, and it makes me feel not uncomfortable, but I pay attention to how can I get out of a situation in case it comes that far. And last, I think this should be number 10, is the tipping. I bet you guys all heard of tipping. In the US, tipping is a big thing. So basically, when you are going out to eat and your bill says $20, you at least leave $4 extra as tip, saying 20%, because most of the people who work as servers do live off the tips. Since they're not getting paid well at all, they're getting paid between $2 and $5 an hour, which is nothing. That's insane. So tipping is really one big thing there, and you are expected to do so. Here in Germany, it's different. You tip usually when the service was nice, but you don't tip more than 10%, except when you go to a really fancy place. 10 to 15% is expected. But other than that, when you go to smaller cafes and stuff like that, or restaurants, you're not expected to tip, and you tip because you feel like the service was nice and worth it. Because they get paid more an hour. They don't live off the tips. I feel like, though, that I'm always super nice to servers because everybody's going through something, and they're doing their job, being nice to you, helping you out with your food. There's no reason to be rude to a server, and I always tip. However, a few times I felt so disrespected in a sense that I didn't want to leave a tip, and I still did, but I feel like sometimes it's for good service after all. And I do respect that they have to work hard and stuff like that. But for example, one incident was we went to a bar. I was standing there trying, to ask for a drink. And there's one guy and a lady. And I felt like they avoided me. And then she even looked at me and turned away. We were waiting there for 20 minutes. And then when she took her order, she was very, very rude about it. And it was just such an awkward situation. If I'm nice and I want to make you feel comfortable, I respect and appreciate your service, then I think you're in the wrong job if you're bitching and if you don't know how to interact with customers. That's just my opinion. But yeah, tipping is a big thing. We do one bonus, maybe it's actually 10 now, is taxes. Here in Germany, when you go to a grocery store or clothing store or whatever store it might be, and you see the price, this is exactly the price you're going to pay for that item. In the US, however, and that's different from state to state too, you have to expect taxes on whatever you buy. So let's say, for example, you buy something for $100, you have to, it's different for every state, it's just a number I make up now. You have to know that you probably pay $110 because of taxes. Here, the tax percentage is 19 on consumer goods. So 20% of the purchase price is taxes, but since it's already included, I think people pay less attention to it. However, when you go to a store or a restaurant, you're always going to be surprised by the outcome, because I don't know the tax percentage for food and then for clothing, and then it's different, I think. The price is always higher than you expected, and coming from a country where you don't have to worry about taxes because they're included in the price you see, it's always a little,
surprise.
But yeah, these are the 10 or 11 or 8 or 9. These are the things I thought were interesting about the differences between the USA and Germany. Let me know if you had other impressions. Maybe you traveled to the US and you're coming from another European country. What were your impressions? I'm always excited to know. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I see you in the next one. Bye bye.